Pain in Our Head podcast contains themes of coarse language, adult themes, and the discussion of mental health themes. Some content may be emotionally challenging. If you or someone you know is at risk, please visit the description for mental health and suicide prevention contacts. Enjoy the show. What's going on? I'm Caleb.
Howdy, I'm Christian.
Welcome to the latest episode of the Pain in Our Head podcast. Welcome to this week's episode of the Pain in Our Head podcast, The Last Time We Cried.
Oof, this is going to be a fun one, isn't it? It's a topic that everyone likes to talk about, especially as males.
Oh, yeah.
It's a touchy topic. Can't wait to gloss this one over.
It is. Yes, absolutely. Let's get into it. Yes, we are going to be having a chat about the last time we cried, about crying, what it's like to cry, what we feel when we cry, why we cry, that sort of thing. Yeah.
So when was the last time you cried?
Let's jump into it. All right. I'll try and keep the tears away. The last time I cried, December last year. Woke up one morning and my pet dog, he couldn't walk, so it was quite distressing. Seeing him not be able to walk just randomly one morning. Obviously took him to the emergency vet. Had him looked at, that sort of thing. I think the part that I really cried at was when he was in, I guess they were about to start the surgery. I've walked out of the surgery clinic, needed, I guess, a moment with myself to just gather my thoughts. Because at this point, I'm thinking, what the fuck's going to happen? Am I going to lose my dog today? And I think that's what really hit me. The thought of, am I doing the right thing by him? A little background, he's a 5-year-old dog, so he's not too old. I guess when you see your dog not being able to walk, though, and what that surgery looks like, you kind of think about, am I doing the right thing? Getting the surgery for him? What are the outcomes? All that sort of thing. So, yeah, I walked outside, took a moment to myself, and just bawled my eyes out. I was an absolute mess. But I guess it was good to take that time by myself, step aside. I was very lucky enough to have family around me while I was going through that process. They let me, step aside, gather my own thoughts as well, just so I didn't do anything rational or unrational, I guess. I wanted to make that right decision. And yeah, Christian and I just cried. I just cried and cried and cried for a good 10 minutes, I got to say. It was a good time. It felt like forever. It was probably only 5 to 10 minutes. Yeah, that was the last time I cried.
Yeah, it's such a release too, like in that sort of situation. Like I can very much relate to that. I got a message about a week before Christmas, so also in December that just gone, that my dog, Rolo, Great Dane, 9 years old, had stopped eating, was, laying on the floor, not moving, because he's with my ex-wife and my 2 children. And, I got the message and I was like, okay, I need to step outside. I was at a friend's house and I smoke when I'm stressed. So I went outside and I had a smoke and I collapsed. I just dropped to my ass and sat on the front yard and just bawled. I ugly cried. And unfortunately, that's not the time that I want to talk about crying. I have too many times recently. But yeah, it's just, having a dog can be such a source of joy and happiness in our lives. But when things go wrong, they really can they'll bring out that ugly cry every time. Like, I'm tearing up just thinking about it. So I'm not ashamed to admit it. It is what it is. He's my boy. And yeah, it's such a hard thing to go through to, see them like that.
Yeah.
Because they are your kids. They're your fur babies.
Yeah. Yeah. They are. They're the joy of your life. I guess, especially if you just have one dog, or even if you have several, it doesn't matter. They are just such a big part of your life. All animals too. All pets. They bring out such a beautiful part of your life, and it's awful thinking about what could happen to them. And maybe you're listening right now, and you've lost a pet, a close pet to you and your family and things like that. And it's awful, and it's definitely not something to be ashamed of either. Letting out that sort of cry. I guess that's what we're kind of heading towards.
Yeah.
But talk to me about the last time you cried. Really love to hear about that.
Right. So, the last time I cried was yesterday. I had a massive cry. And I'm not ashamed to admit it because it's healthy, it's normal, and obviously it's a natural reaction. It's your body's way of trying to bring, your physical being and your mental being into sync. It's like, your mental being's kind of really fucking struggling right now. So I'm going to release this emotion physically. So there's nothing wrong with that. And so yesterday was my granddad's 80th birthday. And so a little bit of background is I am from Queensland. I've lived there 33 years and I now live in South Australia. I moved down here with my wife and 2 children at the time. We split shortly after we got here. So I'm in South Australia, completely isolated from my friends and family. And my granddad is, besides my kids, is the most important person in my life. I love him to absolute pieces. He is an absolute anchor for me, and a lot of my choices, I always think, what's Granddad going to think about this? Because that's how much he means to me. And so yesterday was his 80th birthday, and I couldn't be there for it. And I did up a poem and sent it to my mum, and she put that in a picture frame and made this massive picture frame with all the grandchildren and great grandchildren had their own little piece. And so I had a poem, and that was my piece. And I woke up and she'd sent me a picture of the final product, and I was like, oh man, that's really cool. And I was going to video call him. I just couldn't do it. So I sent him a message, and I was like, happy birthday, Granddad, I love you. And just sending that message broke me. I just laid there in bed and cried because I couldn't be there with my granddad for his 80th. And it was a long day. I eventually did video call him and managed to not cry until after the phone call. But yeah, it's just, some days are really hard being alone down here, and it's most of the time it's pretty bearable and you can do it. But when those big kind of things come around is when it really hits hard, and those days I struggle to do anything. And yeah, that yesterday was one of those days. I just cried, and it felt good, but didn't completely help. And that's something to keep in mind too. Letting all that emotion out. There's nothing wrong with that, but don't it's not a guarantee that you're going to feel better after you cry. You'll feel a little bit better most of the time, but yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. It's not. It really isn't. Um, I'm just trying to take it all in. Your story is just it's heartbreaking. A lot of people have probably been in the pardon me. A lot of people have probably been in a similar situation. It's hard. It really is. But well done for getting through that. That's really that's something that I guess you can look back on and just say, I got through that. And to you listening as well, I hope you can look back, think about the last time you cried and what was going on, whatever it might be, and just think, I got through that, and that's the big win. I've looked into it a little bit of I guess generic kind of research. There's a North Brisbane psychologist that has a good chunk of information on their website, and they kind of just say that like crying is your body's pressure valve or like the relief valve. So that's all it is really. You just that pressure that's built up, everything you're feeling inside, it all just gets released. So I think that's really cool way of looking at it. There's an amazing quote too. I was gonna bring up, and this one hit me quite a bit. So I'm interested to get your opinion on it as well, Christian. So the quote is, "It is a grave hypocrisy of this society which lets a man laugh but not cry." And that was said by a Dr. Nidya Prakash. He's a best-selling author and motivational speaker. Be sure to look him up if you're interested in that kind of thing. But that quote, like that to me, that means a lot. Especially, I guess, being a male.
Yeah.
Growing up, thinking that I had to grow up tough and strong and not let my emotions seep out, and I had to be blank faced and not show any bit of emotion at all. And so I think that really does hit hard. And I feel like I'm not actually sure when he said this or when this quote was said. I feel like we are moving in a better direction.
Yeah.
Than from obviously when I was growing up as a kid. We are lucky to live in a kind of a world now where being able to be emotive, especially as a male, as any person, that's okay, and that should be okay.
Yeah.
What are your sort of thoughts on that quote?
Yeah, so we've got a bit of an age gap between us off the top of my head. Like I'm 35
we
this
do.
year, and you're like
just went 27.
Yeah, right. That's right. So you growing up and me growing up were still different times, and so when I was growing up, it was it was the same thing. Like it was definitely you can't express those emotions. You're a guy. You need to be tough. You need to be like you said, blank faced. And if you weren't, when I was in high school, you were an emo. And I 100% was an emo. I went through that emo phase. I had the comb over. I had the black nail polish and eyeliner, so I don't care. But yeah, society was so just, you can't do that. That's not the right thing to do. And it took me years to not be ashamed of showing emotion. Like I always was just like, well, I'm going to do it because I need to do it. There's nothing I can do to change that. Like I can't swap out that I'm going to cry or I'm going to be angry. Like I can't fix that right now. So I'm going to do it. But inwardly, like I was so ashamed of it because I just felt that it wasn't the right thing to do. It wasn't the normal thing to do. There was something wrong with me. And it's, yeah, like the quote, which lets a man laugh but not cry. It's like, it's to me that's saying that society kind of says that there is acceptable emotions for a man to show, and there is unacceptable emotions for a man to show. And it's so wrong. There's nothing different between men and women. So what lets a woman cry and express all of her emotions, but stops a man from doing it? Like, that's just completely flawed, in my opinion. Men are allowed to show all of it.
Yeah, any person, however you identify any person, it is absolutely okay to cry. And I guess as well as that, like we've talked about, personal scenarios where we've cried over something that's, we've been sad from. It's also possible and totally okay to cry if you're happy.
Yeah.
And, there's definitely different or other scenarios where crying can be brought upon from some other emotion or some other feeling. Happiness. I've definitely cried from happiness before. I can't think of when off the top of my head, unfortunately, which is sad, really. I mean, you should be able to go, yeah, that was awesome. I cried because I was so happy about that. That's a big thing. I think that's a great thing. And I guess, it kind of bleeds into, it's also okay to not be able to cry. I've had times where I've had or felt different emotions, and it's been expected for me or people to cry in that scenario, but you can't. And that's not to say that you're not feeling happy, sad, whatever emotion it might be. There's also no issue with not being able to cry. Being able to show and communicate your feelings, in different ways is, I guess, just the best way. I guess I've learned over the years to utilize my communication and effectively show my emotions to friends and family and people like that, because that's important. It really is. So, just kind of wanted to get that out there as well. Like it's okay to not cry. It's okay to cry. The whole process, both ways.
So, like, just touching back on what you said about sometimes you'll cry when you're happy too. Like, I've got a perfect example of that, and it relates to my granddad again. He came down to visit me, and when I first moved down there, I thought that he'd never come down because he's got lung problems and he wouldn't be able to fly. But he did. He came down, and I cried from happiness because I love him so much. And also the whole, it's okay to not cry. It's definitely okay. And as it can be so infuriating at times too, though. Like I had a friend pass away, and at his funeral, everyone was crying, and I couldn't. Inside, I felt absolutely devastated because it was not his time to go. He made that decision, and I wanted to cry, and I couldn't. I could feel it. It was right there. It wouldn't come out, and I just felt angry that I couldn't cry. And sometimes, you just have to accept those things. It is what it is. If your body's not going to let you cry, it's not going to let you cry. You can't get angry about it. You just got to let it go and accept it.
No. Nothing to be ashamed of, is it?
No, exactly. Everyone expresses it differently.
Absolutely. That's great. I love, you're able to talk about what you did and then bring it upon from another side as well, show the happiness and the sadness that comes with it, and relates to both. Yeah, I really like that. I really do. I think that's our mental health kind of segment of the podcast. Talking about it's okay to not be okay. It's okay to not cry. It's okay to cry. All that sort of thing. We would love to hear stories. Please, send them in. Questions and things like that. We're gonna take a quick break. Hear a word from our sponsors, and we'll continue on the podcast afterwards. The Pain in Our Head podcast is proudly sponsored by Music Magic Co. and Brisbane rock band The Flying Circus. Visit the links in the podcast description for more information. Back to the show. Okay, yes, back. So, next part of our segment. It's my favourite part, always is. I love the mental health stuff I do, but let's talk some music.
Yeah,
Yes.
boy. Let's get it
Love
done.
it. So we're gonna try. I'm gonna try and tie mine, I guess, back to what we were talking about. The whole crying. There's a song. What would you like me to go first? Would you like to chat about your song first? Because I know you've got a killer song to talk about. So
Yeah, I'll send it. Why not?
you chat first.
So, yeah, we're going to try and tie in the songs with the topic of the podcast. So, our songs are today going to be what are tear-jerking songs for each of us. Caleb's also got a good song. Mine absolutely ruins me. Every time I hear it, I love to sing along to it. And I can't get through like the first two lines before I am just blubbering like a baby. So my song for this week is Through the Dark by Hilltop Hoods. And yeah, it's an absolute tearjerker. Just the raw emotion that is just blatantly like just staring you in the face when you listen to it. For those of you who haven't heard the song, I definitely recommend going and listening to it. And if you're a parent, get a box of tissues because you're going to, it's going to break you.
Oh, mate.
So obviously he's singing about his son who gets diagnosed with leukemia. Like I'm not even listening to the song right now, and I'm on the edge.
And chills.
Yeah,
chills.
Yeah, the first time I heard it and listened to it, I think I got maybe through the first verse before. No, the chorus. The first time I heard the chorus, it just chills and tears just hit me. And yeah, so he's talking about his son or singing about his son who's been diagnosed with leukemia and what sort of strength it's going to take to get through it. And I have two kids. I have a daughter and a son, and it just hits so hard. Like what it's just that feeling all the time that there could be something that pops up with your kids that you have absolutely no control over, and you always want to give them everything you can and make sure that, here we go. Oh, no.
Let it out. This is what this one's about. That's the thing, though, the no control part. That's what gets me.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, as you said, there's things you just can't control. And that kills.
Mm.
Yeah, just, I can hear it. I can hear it in your voice, and it's hard for me. I don't have my own children, but I always just think about my dog.
Yeah.
Things out of your control. It sucks. It really does.
Yeah, like life sucks and life is hard, and there's nothing we can do to change that. It's going to have its good times. It's going to have its bad times. And you just got to push through it and deal with the hand you're dealt. And that is one of the hardest things to accept about living. And especially when you've brought life into the world and you're responsible for that, it really starts hitting hard then. Like, you never know what's going to happen. And like, people say, like, tell your loved ones that you love them because you never know when it's going to be the last time you'll say it. And that's good.
Yeah.
Yeah, really sad song. Really makes me cry. Caleb, it's your turn.
Oh, that's it. Pushing through the dark. That's it.
Yeah.
Pushing through the dark. Through the dark by Hilltop Hoods. Shout out to Hilltop Hoods fantastic artist. And I actually remember the first time listening to that song. I actually went and bought the CD. This is going to be hard to believe because we all consume our music now through streaming services. But every now and then, when there's a really good record that gets put out and I really like it, I will go and I will buy the CD. I really still love doing that and chucking it in my car and listening to it, going for a drive, listening to music, probably one of my favourite things to do. That helps me. I usually get a lot of good cries when I'm sitting in the car listening to music. Anyway, but yeah, I do. I distinctly remember the first time I listened to that track, Through the Dark. Just bought the CD. It was actually my first year of uni, and I was driving up to uni, listened to the whole album, and wow, I got to that song and just wow, absolutely wow. So great song.
It was a really good album.
Yes, moving
too.
on, I guess. That's why I went out and bought the whole CD. The CD I listened to, or must have been, I can't remember. There was one track, and I just went, "Wow, that's awesome." Listened to the rest of it on Spotify, and then from there, just went, "Oh my god, I've got to buy this CD."
Yeah.
And at the time, for a low price of $20, it was worth way more than that. It's a unbelievable album. Again, if you haven't listened to it, go have a listen. What is that album?
It is Walking Under Stars, 2014.
It's Walking Under Stars. Yep. Unbelievable.
I reckon the other song that you probably...
song, I guess.
The other song that you would have really enjoyed probably would be Won't Let You Down, if you're thinking of like the emotional songs on that album.
Yeah. That whole album. We could do a whole episode on that, to be honest. I really think I could. That album is just unbelievable. Fantastic. My song, I guess. Should we chat about my song?
Yeah, absolutely. I can't wait to. I hope you cry.
Oh, teardrops. I hope I cry. I think I'd have to listen to it. It's probably a good thing that we can't play them, obviously for rights purposes. Probably a good thing that we can't play any of them. But yeah, do go have a listen to them. They are great songs. Have you heard this one? So, The Gift by Seether.
No, I don't think I have. Like, off the top of my head, I don't think I have.
I think so. That's okay. It's okay. A lot of people I talk to haven't heard the song, let alone the band. My favourite band, it'll never change, has been for a very, very long time, is Seether. And the tearjerker song is called The Gift, from the Karma and Effect album. Again, that's a fantastic album. I love all their music though, so I guess I'm very biased. But yeah, The Gift. Awesome song. I'd like to try and remember the first time I listened to it. I'd say it was I was definitely upset at the time, sad at the time. But The Gift is such a special, powerful song. To me, and it could mean a lot of different things to many different people listening to it. To me, the song is about having a gift, and that gift could be anything at all, whatever that gift might be, and not knowing how to best use that gift, how to use it effectively. And that resonates with me. It really does. And that was the whole, great song. I'll try and find a couple of lyrics for you.
I just looked up the lyrics on my phone, and the chorus, I'm so afraid of the gift you give me. I don't belong here, and I'm not well. I'm so ashamed of the lie I'm living, right on the wrong side of it all. That's very powerful.
Right on the wrong side of it all.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that gets me. Yep. Even from the start of the song, hold me now, I need to feel relief. That is the first line.
Yep. Yeah. That's
hold
powerful.
me now, I need to feel relief. And you just think, comes back to feeling alone. And yeah, that hits me. That was my favourite song, I think, through high school. I was in no way a popular kid, which is fine with me.
What do you mean? You look like you should have been popular in high school for sure.
Oh, I never wanted to be the most popular kid. I was just happy with my niche little group, and yeah, but I guess it was one of my favorite songs. It still is one of my favorite songs of all time, and yeah, definitely a tearjerker for me. I honestly, I think I skip it more than I should because it comes back to that. Why am I crying over this song? And I think I skip it when it comes up because I think I know that I'm going to cry. And I just think, I don't need to walk into wherever I'm going looking like a sobering mess right now. So I just can't listen to that song right now. It's just not going to end well for anyone. But otherwise, love listening to it. Love having a good cry to it. Yeah. Shout out to Seether. It was back when I was in high school and I was in love with this song. And Twitter was really big back then. I was thinking, jeez, like
Twitter was
early.
big.
Yeah, when Twitter was big.
Oh, MSN and Facebook were big for me, and MySpace.
Oh, MSN. I remember that. I was young though for that. It would have had to have been early 2010s. Anyway, I made a tweet. I didn't have one. I made one purely for the purpose of just tweeting to Seether how amazing this song is, and that this is like 13-year-old me, like confessing my love for the song, and just over Twitter, and just going like, "This fucking thing rocks! Like, this is the best thing anyone has ever written ever." And here I am, just like typing it into Twitter, and then @ing Seether. I tell you what, I think I happy cried when I got a response.
Oh, no way.
Yeah, I did.
Oh,
I got a response. I can't tell you what the response is. I'd have a photo somewhere. You bet I fucking screenshotted
I bet
it.
you did, yeah.
And I can't remember what the response was. I think it was just a thank you or something like that.
It's so fucking cute.
Yeah, that's what I did. Because I just had so much love for this particular song, and it had just done so much for me through some really rough times. I guess if I'm having a bad day, that's the song I go to. That's my go-to. Hey, let's have a good cry. Let's move on.
Yeah.
So,
it's definitely a guilty pleasure of mine too. It's like, even if I'm having a good day, like it's such a emotion like balancer. If I'm kind of feeling like I'm starting to ride like a really high on my emotions, I will listen to that song and make myself cry and get some of that emotion out.
Yeah, that's exactly it. And you usually feel better afterwards too.
Yeah, it feels weird, like, if you're feeling really happy and then you're like, I'm gonna have a cry here, and you're just like, I feel good. It's like I let it out.
Yeah. And that's one of the things I love about music is the ability it has to do that to you. That's the beauty of music, the passion I have for music, and how much of a tie-in it has, I think, to mental health. That's huge for me. So, yeah, love that. Really do.
Like,
well,
if you
listeners, let us know, please. Like, sorry, you go. You guys, what were you saying?
Sorry, it's hard for us to do this sometimes. Like there's a delay between it, so sometimes I will talk and it comes through at the wrong time. So if it sounds weird, it's not our fault. It's on that end. But what was I saying? Oh,
yeah, that's fine. Technical difficulties.
So yeah, like with the whole, the effect that music has, like just being able to, even if you think you sound bad when you sing, who cares? Blast that stuff out. Like, just sing, because one of the things that like most mental health professionals will try to get you to do is breathing exercises, and breathing exercises are essential for singing. you sing and you're doing a breathing exercise. Like, get in there and just belt your heart out and you will feel better. It doesn't matter if you sound bad or you sound good. Just enjoy the moment. It's therapeutic as hell.
Absolutely. Blast the speaker, turn it up in the car, sing in the shower, for God's sakes. I do that. I used to do that a lot. Not anymore. Not a lot anymore. But yeah, absolutely, you're right. Blast it out. Get those lungs working. Breathe that air in. Push it out. Yep.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Let us know too. Send in questions you have about anything really. I'll almost answer anything within reason. Let us know the last time you did or didn't cry, if you want. You know, we'd love to know. We seriously would. I really would. I love hearing those sort of stories and that sort of thing. It's great to hear. So it'd be great to hear from anyone. Yeah, if you're listening.
Yeah, no.
That's about. I mean, that's. I think we've covered everything I wanted to chat about in this particular episode. Yeah, anything else rattling your brain?
Off the top of my head, I think we've covered everything that we set out to cover, and it's been a really fun first episode. Well, this is the first content episode. We've obviously released our introduction video, and this has been really fun. So I'm very much looking forward to sharing this time with you, Caleb. I love you so much. And
that's it. Oh, yeah. Make sure you tell me. It's important.
Yeah. 100%.
Exactly. No, cool. Really happy with that. More episodes to come. There's so much more content we're going to cover off and cover. So thank you for tuning in. Thank you for listening. Can't wait to have you on board next week. And we'll go from there. So, brilliant. Thank you so much for listening to the Pain in Our Head podcast. We'll see you next week. It's okay to not be okay.
That's good. See you next week.